Everyone knows Minecraft, and most likely, everyone has played it. It's been one of the biggest games for the last 15 years, and with that, there are some weird versions of it floating around, like Minecraft China. The Minecraft only in China. But one of the most forgotten and interesting versions of Minecraft has to be Minecraft on 3DS, the game that released after the Nintendo Switch edition came out. There's a lot about this game that makes it stand out. So in this video, I wanted to play it and see if I could beat it. What challenges will I face along the way while playing this toaster? And what benefits does this version of Minecraft have that a lot of us miss, if any? Right from the beginning, I knew this was going to be a completely different experience from what most people are used to, but I wanted to make it a little more interesting for everyone on stream, because yes, I stream this. Not only are we playing the 3DS, but I did something that's unique to the Nintendo versions of the game. That's right, we're using the Mario texture pack, just to make it more difficult for me. Also, I was interested to see all the fun quirks this pack has, and trust me, it has a lot. The first thing I noticed was the music. As soon as I joined, I was met with the opening theme of Super Mario 64. Which was pleasant, but it wasn't the soft classic music Minecraft is known for. If anything, it was just strange and loud. There were also things like the block breaking animation. It's different with the brick texture, which is actually pretty cool.
Oh, yo, that's so cool. It turns into like a brick.
And just to clarify, because I had a lot of people asking me on stream, this is an unmodded 3DS with a capture card. No modding or emulating was involved in this playthrough. Anyways, I think the best thing to do at the beginning is come up with a game plan. Day one. Find diamonds. The first thing I wanted to do was build up my tools, or at least that's what I thought. Turns out, simply collecting wood and building a hut was a huge challenge in itself, mainly because the silly 3DS was really difficult to get the hang of because of the C-stick. This is just a little nub that is quite sensitive. Now don't get me wrong, this isn't the best use of camera controls, far from it. But after playing with this for several hours, I did get the hang of it and found it to be pretty acceptable. It was the worst during combat and building, but I did eventually get used to it enough that it wasn't my main complaint about the version, like most might suspect. There are also required touchscreen controls when crafting and navigating the menus, which can be pretty finicky sometimes. I found that I would constantly build random objects because my thumb would be covering the thing it's asking me to build. After I made my initial hut, I wanted to set a spawn point. This required me to find sheep and get some wool to make a bed, which took me over 2 hours. Let me explain. While it doesn't sound very difficult, this was mainly because I had to travel far for sheep, kept dying, and losing my stuff. I also didn't realize that sheep are Koopa, for some reason. This bed isn't made from wool, it's the skin of Bowser's minions. But the biggest problem with the animals in general is the complete lack of them. Seriously, there were barely any animals. I blame this on the overall lower spawn rates on the 3DS version. They're lower because that keeps the 3DS from exploding. Oh my! Little did I know, this would be the biggest hurdle I'd face in the challenge. Oh, and the Goombas are chickens for some reason. I knew this texture pack was a bad idea. On my way of finding sheep, I noticed some oddly designed parts of the world, like these random floating islands. Again, I blame the glorified calculator I'm playing on. After finally skinning the flesh of Koopas to make a bed, I was on my journey to find a cave, as I felt that this was the best way to find iron and diamonds fast. Once again, this was much more difficult than expected. After spending a long time looking for a cave, I decided to say screw it and make a little hut where my bed is. Inside the hut, I would start to strip mine until I hopefully stumbled into a cave. And of course,
Yeah. No way. Come on now.
that didn't take long. This is also a good time to mention that every time you hit a block, the game hitches. While that sounds horrible, just wait. After finding this cave, it was officially time to play with iron. I spent quite a lot of time not only trying to find diamonds, but also getting enough iron so that I could even mine diamonds if I found them. I eventually found enough iron, so I took this opportunity to upgrade my armor to full iron, which makes me look like a frog. I always knew frogs were made of metal. And finally, as I was making my way through a cave, I stumbled across our first objective. Diamonds! And more than one!
Is that it? Is it 2?
Day 1 complete. Day 2, today's goal. Go to the nether, get blaze rods, and find ender pearls. But first, it's house time. I wanted to upgrade my house and get a better feel for building in the 3DS version. So after getting a ton of wood, I slowly fumbled along, but did end up getting my house built. And that's literally all. I didn't really use it much. I put a bed, a little crafting table, and a chest. That's it. That was kind of a waste of time. It was finally time I started getting some obsidian so that I could get to the nether. So after accidentally crafting a cauldron instead of a bucket because of the texture pack, I went down to grab some obsidian with my shiny new diamond pickaxe. After grabbing the obsidian, I wanted to take a peek at the original Minecraft texture just to see if I was missing out on anything. And wow, this feels a lot more dull than the Mario texture pack. And finally, after building a portal, I made it to the nether. This was a pretty great spawn because I was right beside a nether fortress, which will make it easy to get blaze rods. Now, for those of you who have played Minecraft recently and have gone to the nether, please note this is the old version of the nether before the big nether update, which means we don't have piglins or the enderman realm thing, which ended up being a big problem a little bit later. But before I continue in the nether, I wanted to go back home, gather food and supplies to help me on my quest and make sure I don't die while I'm here. So I went back to my base and made a tiny farm with my pet chicken and another chicken. They made babies that I would one day slaughter for food. Or at least that's what I thought. As I found out, the baby chickens don't actually grow when I'm away from them. As soon as I leave them, they stop growing. So this farming technique to get food is extremely unhelpful. And it's the same with gardening too. This is a big flaw for the 3DS version, since it can't process any more in the world except for what's rendered around you, and the render distance on 3DS is tiny. Anyways, it was time to gear up and venture back to the Nether, so I used my diamonds from earlier and made a sword and was finally ready for my Nether adventure. Before jumping into the portal, we jump back into the Mario texture pack, and whoa! The Nether portal has Bowser's face! That's so cool! And when you go to the Nether, it plays music from Bowser's castle, and the ghasts are boos! It's perfect. I finally found my way to the part of the fortress where there were blazes. I had to find a spawner and just farm them, but eventually they stopped spawning, and I had no idea why. It turns out they were spawning underneath the fortress for some reason. I don't know, this might be a 3DS quirk. So I had to climb down and kill those ones so that more would spawn at the spawner. I don't know if you can tell yet, but mob limits are starting to become a problem. Since the game can't handle a large amount of enemies at a time, it just refrains from spawning them for as long as possible. I eventually got all the blaze rods I need, and now it's time to go back to base and start my quest to look for ender pearls. So I started going around the map at night looking for endermen to literally convince myself that they even exist in this game. I kid you not, I ran around for hours and didn't find a single enderman. I traversed mountains, built a boat, and sailed across the ocean and nothing. So I decided to try and find a village, because at a village you can find a cleric villager and eventually trade up 2 ender pearls. Here's my next problem. I couldn't find a village either. Not only was there no enderman, but there wasn't even a single village until finally I found one.
Oh my gosh! Let's go!
I can't even explain how much of a relief this was. I was starting to worry that the game hadn't generated any. I went to several ends of the map and finally found one. Oh yeah, I should also mention that the 3DS map isn't unlimited. You eventually hit these invisible barriers at the edge of the world. I guess the flat earthers were right. But the fact it took me hours just to find a village and I still hadn't seen an enderman made me worry about the future of this challenge. Day 3. Find ender pearls, but for real this time. Things started to look up. I actually saw an enderman when I joined the game. I don't know why it was there all of a sudden, but I did it. I killed it, and it didn't drop any pearls. Heck. Oh yeah, also the endermen are Shy Guys, on stilts, which confused me at first, but then I remembered they're from Yoshi's Island, except the Shy Guys in Minecraft have 4 stilts, which is technically wrong because in Yoshi's Island, they only have 2. After searching and making this village my new home, all my villagers died from zombies while I was smacking rocks. Instead of reviving any, I fled and continued my journey finding endermen to kill. And 1 hour later, I found another village overflowing with villagers. And thankfully, there was a cleric. So now I just need to grind 38 rotten flesh to upgrade him. Thankfully, this village was right beside a desert. This is good because it was pointed out to me that in deserts, more mobs spawn on the surface because there's fewer caves that this biome generates underneath me. It also makes it easier to see endermen from a distance. So that was my plan. Stay in the desert, grind flesh, and wait for endermen. After searching for hours and hours and hours, I finally found one.
Ooh, ooh. Let's go!
And it was at this point, both me and chat didn't want to spend literal days looking for pearls because the spawn rate for endermen are horribly low. It would actually take real life days if I wanted the minimum 12. And that doesn't even count the ones I would need to use to get to the underground fortress. So I asked my chat and they decided that for the sake of the challenge, we'd have to resort to a duplication glitch. As much as this hurts me, I just reached my limit of randomly wandering around, hoping to bump into an enderman for hours on end. So I got all the pearls we needed and it was off to make the Eyes of Ender to find a fortress. I was ready for battle. Let's fight the Ender Dragon. I made it to the end portal and finally it was time. Day 4. Fight the Ender Dragon. During the Ender Dragon fight, I had a horrible time. Entering it for the first time was easy, but after dying, it started to become very difficult. Every time I died, if I tried to go back and retrieve my stuff, it would sometimes take forever to try and get back into the game, or it would just decide to crash on me. I tried using the trick where I saved outside the portal, and if I lose everything, I could just quit the game unsaved and rejoin so that I don't lose my stuff. Almost every time after I tried to join back into the game, it was almost guaranteed to crash. This isn't something I had even experienced often throughout my my journey thus far. In fact, I only remember it happening once before day 1 or 2, when I finally found a dog, only for the game to crash and send poor Poochie to the Shadow Realm. And that was my only time in the entire playthrough that I even saw one. Future Russ here, I should just clarify, the game didn't actually crash when I saw a dog. I accidentally shut it off and put it into rest mode because the power button's at the bottom of the DS. So it only crashed during the Enderman. Just wanted to clarify that. When the game decided to cooperate and not crash on me, battling in the end felt very odd. On top of that, the limited power of the 3DS made it incredibly difficult to see the towers in the first place to beat the Ender Dragon. And sometimes, when I was on top of the tower, I couldn't see the ground. Let's not forget, if you're trying to use a bow, good luck, because it disappears after a certain distance. And on top of that, the performance chugged, especially after hitting a crystal or after the Ender Dragon shoots down his ball of particles. This was an awful experience, and it gets even worse.
Okay, we have a big issue. The game crashed. My chest and my bed is gone. It completely restarted everything.
The save data corrupted, and I lost a huge amount of loot. Also, certain builds or paths I mined vanished. My bed was gone, so when I died, I was back at the original spawn, which would have forced me to walk all the way back. This was a mess. So after a flip of a coin, we considered it fair to go into creative to gather the lost items. But this is just proof that this version of the game is almost impossible to beat as an average player unless you have copious amounts of patience. Now sure, I might not know all the techniques, but still, this game in a normal playthrough would take weeks between spawn rates of enemies being slow, a lack of easily accessible biomes and villages, and of course the unexpected crashes and save corruptions. Need I remind you that this was at the end of the game? Could you imagine hunting all the elusive Endermen and getting all the pearls you need just to have the entire save data corrupt on you? To the average Minecraft enjoyer, this isn't worth it due to the complete lack of reliability. But let's not worry, my chat had a plan above all other plans. And at this point I'd like to give a shout out to my chat and the Minecraft 3DS community because they helped me throughout this run. Thanks to them, I knew of a secret weapon to defeat the dragon. Boat. That's right, it seems like the best way to beat the dragon quickly for me was to trap the Ender Dragon in a boat and beat the game that way. So I joined the end, ran to the center and built a cobblestone tower and placed the boat where the dragon would land. I then waited while trying not to get killed by Endermen and popped a golden apple. After the dragon was finally trapped, I charged in the middle and cranked 90s with my diamond sword. And with that, I finally defeated the Ender Dragon and beat Minecraft on 3DS. So yes, you can beat the game, but there are serious problems you have to overcome along the way. I had many people in chat tell me about their experience playing this version of the game, and a handful of them had a bad time in survival with the very same issues I had. So while it's playable, it is extremely difficult to play and unbearably grindy without using dupe glitches. Don't even get me started about how this doesn't play in 3D. I think the best thing this game has about it is the fact that it can even run on this handheld device. And it's one of the few ways to experience the nostalgia of older versions of Minecraft on console. So if you want to check out the video where I played every Nintendo version of Minecraft, click this video. And if you want to see me play every spin-off on Nintendo Switch, click this video. Please consider liking and subscribing. I'll see you in the next one. See you later.